Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Rabbit and Red Reviews. I'm Eric, and today we are going to review two new releases in 2018 from the Knob Creek Distillery. Both of these are rye whiskeys. The Knob Creek Twice Barreled Rye and the Knob Creek Cask Strength Rye. So Knob Creek is a part of the Jim Beam family, and so they have been releasing bourbons and rye whiskeys over the many years now. And they have a regular standard rye release, which is bottled at 100 proof. And they also have a barrel select process for their standard rye, which they upgrade to a single barrel and is bottled at 115 proof. But here in 2018, they've released these two limited editions, and we're going to do a nose, palate, and finish review of these, talk a little bit about the value of each, and help make a decision on which one of these comes out on top and is worth your money. So starting first with the Twice Barreled Rye. So this is a non-age statement rye. This came out in November of 2018. It is bottled at 50% ABV, so at 100 proof. And the twice barrel process is something that has slowly been, becoming more and more popular with bourbon, and now we're seeing it here with this Knob Creek rye. Basically, after aging for well, in this case, it's unsure how long it has been aged in the regular new charred American oak barrels, is then put into another brand new charred American oak barrel for an undisclosed time, so kind of like a finish. And that is supposed to impart a lot more of those new, the flavors that you get when you first put your spirit into a new charred oak barrel. And it's supposed to impart some of those kind of bolder flavors and whatnot. So that's what's going on here with the Knob Creek Twice Barreled Rye. Earlier in 2018, the Knob Creek released a cask strength version of their rye. So this is bottled at 59.8% ABV, also a limited edition version. And while it does say barreled in 2009, I'm not quite sure if that actually is enough information to say that this is a 9-year-old or a 9-year-old rye whiskey. There might be some clever wording going on there. So usually it would say aged 9 years, but so in this case, this could be a 9-year aged cask strength rye. Otherwise, could be anywhere upwards of, I would probably guess 6 to 8 years. So we'll pour these out in the glass here and take a little bit of a look at the color before we get into this review. Cask strength. Okay, so this is the twice barreled, and this is the cask strength. So as you can see, the twice barreled does appear to be just a tad darker, which could be because of getting put into that brand new charred oak barrel right at the for the finish. So first we'll start with the twice barreled rye. So on the nose, you are getting some rye spice, but it's not very aggressive. Also getting a bit of, what is that? It's almost like a fruit note. I can't quite tell which it is. Dark red fruit kind of note. So getting some vanilla, coffee bean, getting some of that off here as well. A little bit of mint and a menthol on the nose here. All in all, it smells very, very warm and rounded. There's not really any sharp edges, anything that's really, really popping out of the glass at you. It all seems kind of married well together. Okay, onto the cask strength. So the cask strength, as expected, has a little bit more pop to it. The rye spice seems to be a little bit stronger on the nose here. Also getting vanilla, toffee, caramel. Yeah, a little bit of an alcohol burn. So a little bit of that lingering on the nose. And a little bit of dill Yeah. Okay. So that's the Cask Strength. So we'll move on to the twice barreled and check out the palate. So immediately on the palate, it's very buttery, creamy, mellow. As it develops, the sweetness of these kind of signature bourbon notes give way to a finish that has a bit more of the rye spice. So you're not getting a lot of the rye boldly getting it right on the palate, but as it develops, the finish really leaves a long lingering rye spice. It's not super aggressive. It is definitely blended and married well with these kind of dark chocolate coffee notes. This is interesting. It's a very mellow rye. So this is not something that is going to necessarily satisfy the folks who are just like really into rye whiskey and want that really heavy rye spice right away. This is a much mellower, calmer version of a rye, but with some really interesting notes. Also getting a little bit of that signature kind of Jim Beam nuttiness on the nose again now. Yeah, creamy, as I said, kind of buttery, heavy. You're getting definitely some oak for sure, picking up some of that now, but it's very much, there's a coffee, it's like a dark coffee almost. Coffee bean, espresso bean kind of flavor. There's married with the chocolatey flavor here. And then the rye spice really kind of comes in at the end. Really long finish on this one. Quite nice. Also getting a little bit of like graham cracker on the finish here. It's pretty tasty. So we'll move on to the Cask Strength. As I mentioned, this is bottled at 59.8%, so almost a full 10% more ABV. So we should expect a little bit of a bolder flavor here, but also a little bit more of the alcohol burn potentially here as well. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So as expected, this thing hits you with full force. Immediately on the palate, the rye spice really, really dials up. Wow. The rye spice is taking definitely full stage here. You are getting some of the notes I mentioned on the twice barreled, where you're getting a little bit of that kind of a chocolatiness, a little bit of a nuttiness. But the rye is definitely in full command on the palate here. As it goes into the finish, it is mellowing a little bit, and kind of coming together really well with some of the other flavors you're getting in here. Caramel, there's a little bit of brown sugar, a hint of mintiness, which is kind of lingering as well. Also fairly long finish, but boy, this is packing some serious flavor, and we'll give it one more try here. Wow. Yeah, you definitely know you're drinking the Cask Strength rye here. Wow, this is really good. Yeah. So this one definitely, if you're more of somebody who is an enthusiast of rye whiskey or just really loves that punchy rye, this one on the Cask Strength definitely has it turned up to 11. But it's very well balanced. The mouthfeel on this one is very full. Good finish. This is quite good. Okay, so having given both of these a taste, I will also add, so the twice barreled rye, as I mentioned, these are both limited releases. This one, as far as value, you can get for around, right now in stores, around $45 to $50. This is a limited release. You can take one quick look again here at the bottle. You can see the presentation is very signature Knob Creek bottle, signature kind of style with their label. They do make the background of this label have more of a kind of barrel look to it, but All in all, pretty much standard. So as I mentioned, about $45 to $50. There's no indication this is going to be around as a core lineup range. So that's pretty much what you'd be looking at for that. The Cask Strength, this one comes in around $60 to $70, sometimes even upwards of $80. This is also a limited release. You can take a look at the bottle presentation here, very similar to the twice barreled. Not much. There's a little bit more information, some information here on the bottle about you know, which warehouse it came from, et cetera, et cetera. So a little bit more than you saw on the twice barreled, but all in all, very similar. So the final thoughts here and the final review, thinking about what kind of score I'm going to give this. So taking into account the kind of difference in profile here and the value, the twice barreled, I will give a solid 3 out of 5. I think this is a whiskey that, as I mentioned, is a relatively mellow, relaxed rye whiskey. So it's something you can definitely enjoy, you know, when you're just taking it easy and, you know, wanting to sip something that's going to, you know, not be too aggressive with you. The fact that it's, you know, in that $45 range, relatively good price for a limited release rye of this caliber. So a solid 3 out of 5 for the Knob Creek twice barreled. As for the Cask Strength, I personally liked this one a bit more. I think this has just got a little bit more depth and complexity. Certainly has a lot more flavor coming from the fact that it's almost 10% more higher ABV. Also has, you know, just some it's really well balanced despite having so much going on inside the glass. This is also a limited release. This one, as I mentioned, you know, you're looking at $60 to $80. So for a score on this, I think I will give this a 3.5. Definitely worth grabbing a bottle if you can, you know, find it at a good price. I don't think this is worth $80. You know, closer to the 60 range might be a decent price to pay for a Cask Strength rye whiskey of this caliber. So I have to dig in a little bit just because the price, you know, is a little bit high for what you're getting. But this was also, and I'll mention, this was Whiskey Advocate's #2 whiskey of the year for 2018. So prices may rise pretty quickly on this one. So if you can find this at your store for, you know, 60 to maybe even $70, worth grabbing a bottle to check it out. Otherwise, I'm sure this one will be around all the good bars in your area, and definitely worth buying a glass. So 3.5 on the Cask Strength, 3 on the twice barreled, and that's a wrap. So good to see you all again, and we'll catch you next time here on Rabbit and Red Reviews. Cheers.